Okay, the meeting's now live.
Thank you, Lisa. Good morning. I'm Councillor Steve Pitt, Cabinet Member for Culture, Leisure and Economic Development. Welcome to this meeting, which is being held virtually in response to limitations placed on governance by the COVID-19 pandemic. The City Solicitor has advised that this meeting will be run by reference to the model standing orders as set out in the Local Authorities Coronavirus Flexibility of Local Authority Meetings Regulations 2020 number 392. Members of the public are invited to view this meeting, and there's been the opportunity for written representations to be submitted. Those present are requested to keep their microphones on mute and only turn them on when they're called to speak. Members are requested to keep their cameras turned on at all times. Officers are requested to turn their cameras on only when they are presenting their reports and answering questions. If anyone would like to speak, with the normal process is putting RTS in the chat. I actually find that really cumbersome, so I'll do what I always do in these meetings, which is come to each of the opposition representatives in turn and ask them if they've got any questions or comments, and that way we make sure we don't miss anybody. If there are any technical difficulties, we will endeavour to resolve those and where necessary have a brief adjournment. I will now invite those present to introduce themselves. Those who are not able to confirm they are present will be marked as absent from the meeting, but we will always endeavour to get people back into the meeting if they are having technical difficulties. So I'll come first to the opposition spokespersons, and first to Councillor Frank Jonas.
Yeah, Councillor Frank Jonas, representing Hillsley Ward, opposition spokesman for the Conservatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank, and good morning. Councillor Morgan.
Councillor Stephen Morgan, representing Charles Dickens Ward Labour Group representative.
Thank you, and good morning, Stephen. And Councillor Udy.
Hi, I'm Councillor Claire Udy in Charles Dickens Ward, and I'm the Progressive Portsmouth People Group representative.
Thank you, and good morning, Councillor Udy. Okay, we have a number of officers with starting and say what they do, and starting please with James Daly.
Sorry, James Daly, Cultural Development and Projects Officer.
Morning, James. Adrian Rosier.
Good morning, Adrian Rosier, Service Manager for Parks and Open Spaces.
Morning, Adrian. Claire Udy. Sorry, I'm getting confused now. Claire Looney.
Claire Looney, Commissioning and Partnership Manager. Thank you.
Good morning, Claire. David Moorman.
Good morning, David Moorman, Strategic Development Manager for Sports and Leisure.
Morning, David. James Fitzgerald.
Morning, James Fitzgerald, Corporate Finance Manager.
Morning, James. Jacqueline Garrard.
Hi, Jacqueline Garrard, Access and Learning Librarian for Portsmouth.
Good morning, Jacqueline. Jane Mee.
Good morning, Jane Mee, Museums and Visitor Services Manager.
Morning, Jane. David Percival.
Good morning, Dave Percival, Library and Archive Service Manager.
Morning, Dave. Mark Pembleton. Mark with us, actually. Can't see him at the moment. Lisa?
No, I don't think he is with us, but I think James is presenting that report anyway.
Okay. Sue Page isn't with us, and James is covering for her. Felicity Wood.
Hello, Felicity Wood, Public Participation Officer at the D-Day Story.
Okay, and we've also got two members of the Democratic Services team with us this morning. Good. We have John Waite.
Jonathan Waite, Democratic Services.
Morning, John. And we have Lisa Gallagher.
Hi, Lisa Gallagher from Democratic Services.
Okay, I don't think I've missed anyone, but if I have, please speak now. Okay, we have no apologies for absence today, and we now move to declarations of interest. Members, have you anything to declare? I will take silence as a no.
Only that I'm a customer of BH Live, as always, when I'm in this meeting.
Yeah, personal but non-pecuniary. Thanks, Claire. Okay, so now we move to the main agenda, and that takes us to item 3, the replacement of Eastney Swimming Pool and Wimbledon Park Sports Centre, options appraisal, feasibility and consultation results. And I'll ask David Moorman to join us and present the report, please.
Thank you, Councillor Pitt. Morning, everyone. This report follows on from the report that came to the last cycle of meetings and follows up on the instruction to report back to you by early 2021 with an options appraisal, having consulted with the users of Wimbledon Park Sports Centre, Eastney Swimming Pool, and the wider community. So very briefly, the background to this is that Eastney Swimming Pool and Wimbledon Park Sports Centre are old buildings in need of major investment in non-customer facing elements in order to continue operating. Something like 3.45 million is needed over the next 8 to 10 years, and this is heavily front-loaded with around 2.45 million needed in year one. So if we were able to spend that money on a new combined leisure centre, there's the potential of a £2 million grant from Sport England, and also the potential to eliminate the necessity for an ongoing subsidy, as is the case now. Just before I move on to the options appraisal, I just want to refer members to Appendix D, which was presented a couple of weeks ago to the local government or association's seminar on the future of sports and physical activity, and illustrates the last point about subsidy quite well. Just very briefly, it just shows operational performance over the 5 years to 2020, and what it shows is that facilities that are wet only, as in swimming pool only, like Eastney Swimming Pool, need major subsidy are heading in the wrong direction. Dry only facilities like Wimbledon Park Sports, whilst gradually improving, are only just breaking even, and it's only facilities that combine wet and dry offers that are able to operate sustainably. This is why you'll see lots of standalone gyms in the private sector, but no standalone swimming pools in the private sector. All private pools are associated with a dry offer as well, like the sports facilities offered by David Lloyd, for example, or another commercial offer like a hotel. So if you're going to have a public swimming pool, this suggests that the only way to do so sustainably is to combine it with indoor sports, the dry offer. So following the last report, I went out and gathered the information that we needed for colleagues in finance to undertake an options appraisal. In some cases, this needed input from specialist leisure architects and some consultants. In other cases, we had the resources internally, and also BH Live, our leisure operators, were able to share their actual management accounts with us. And so at this point, as we've got the benefit of having James with us in the meeting, I'd like to ask James Fitzgerald perhaps to take us through briefly the options appraisal. Is that okay, James?
Yes, sure, David. Yeah, no problem. So this is a high-level summary of the options appraisal. So as David said, there's a lot of information that forms or that goes behind these numbers. So it's been good to triangulate the information. So we looked at 3 different options. The first one was retaining the existing sites for future operation. That would need quite a capital injection, as David said. And what that means is that we would still have an annual cost to the council of about £190,000 over each year. The second option we looked at is the preferred option we're talking about today, and that's the provision of a new centre at Bransbury Park. You can see that actually moves from a cost of £187,000 to a subsidy to the council we're estimating of around about £28,000. Similarly, the last option was a demolition of both of the current sites and a rebuild on the same footprints. What that does is that still ends up in a cost to the council. So there's various different assumptions within the model. Within the preferred option number 2, you can see that comes out as rank number 1. We're assuming the £2 million grant from Sport England, and the capital budget that has been published for discussion at council in the coming, I think it's next week, does have provision for the build of the new centre at Bransbury. So happy to answer any questions, but that's an overview of the financial appraisal that we've done.
Thank you, James. I'll just turn now then to the consultation that we carried out in November and December. This was conducted via online survey and received 1,800 responses, and there's quite a lot of information in there which is presented to you in the appendix. But a key points that we took from it was that 63% of those who responded were in favour of using the money that would have to be spent on Eastney Swimming Pool and Wimbledon Park Sports Centre on a new community centre at Bransbury Park instead. The most important elements that people wanted in a new development were good quality changing rooms, and that it should be accessible, and meaning the ability to actually get there, for example, by public transport or on foot, but also meaning accessible to people with disabilities as well. The consultation covered quite a bit more around Eastney Swimming Pool and Wimbledon Park Sports, and the key findings there were that there were lots of elements that prevented people using those facilities that we would be unable to address without combining the two together into a new leisure centre. Things like location, the limited facility mix, a limited gym, and limited transport connections. So we remain committed to engaging with stakeholders. This is very early in the process. And I know there are local residents who are obviously interested in what's going on. I'm sure they're probably watching now. But we are committed to consulting more. We've been planning with my colleagues in corporate communications how to engage in a more focused way with the users and the non-users of the facilities involved, in order to fully understand the local need to develop the right facility mix, but of course also for non-users and local residents to make sure their views are considered, and that will be happening this month. We're also engaged with Sport England. I've got a meeting arranged with them next week to progress our application to their Strategic Facilities Fund. Sport England launched their new strategy last week, and the focus is on recovering from COVID and a strong emphasis on healthy communities and links with health and well-being. And I think this project will retain Sport England's support, provided we go down the route of a new combined community health and physical activity hub. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, David. Just before I go to the other members, a question from me. Obviously, this has been talked about on social media, and there's been some comments that people didn't receive a leaflet informing them about the consultation. Can I confirm that we did deliver leaflets citywide back when we were promoting the consultation in November, December time?
That's correct. We instructed colleagues to deliver across the whole city to all residential addresses. What I can do is go get in touch with them to see how they can verify that. But my understanding is that they went through every door.
Okay, and am I right in saying that the largest response that we actually have was from the PO4 area, which is the area immediately surrounding the proposed site?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed. I'll go to members now for any questions, and I'll go first to Councillor Frank Jonas.
No questions, Councillor. Just thank the officers for the report, and nothing new and nothing to add since our briefing meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Morgan.
Steve, thank you, and thank you to officers for the report today. I had the opportunity to go and visit the sites before lockdown last year and saw the challenges of the existing sites and also the opportunities. I welcome the council's intentions to improve leisure facilities across our city and welcome the consultation that's been undertaken. I've heard from a number of constituents with concerns about the proposals, which I've shared with you separately, David, just to give you some examples of those, as we haven't got written deputations today. One resident saying that they live in Glasgow Road and their house would back onto the new development. They said that they contacted the planning department by email in January and were told that this scheme wouldn't be taking place. Another said that they're concerned about the noise of extractor fans from the pool and the increased traffic. Another constituent got in touch with me and said that many disabled people use the existing pool at Eastney, that part of the charm of Eastney is the communal changing and shower areas. Friends are made, age barriers are broken down. In this age of more isolation, this is so important. So thank you, David, for the report, and I think it is really important that we make sure that we do engage those that are most to lose from this development. So I welcome your efforts to engage users of Eastney and Wimbledon Park. It's absolutely right. If the council's going to get this right, they've got to engage the community to make it happen.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Yeah, one very strong element came from the consultation was that the urge to get it right, as you say, and so that's why we're not rushing this. We're going to take our time to consult with everyone involved. I am aware of the concerns of some of the residents, and I have responded to them. I think the ones you referred to this week, and my emphasis with that this is very early in the process. There's plenty of opportunity for people to have their feelings heard, and of course there's the planning process to go through as well, which is another opportunity for people to have their feelings expressed. And I do understand how people who live nearby would be concerned. We've been very clear that we want any new development to be ecologically sound and reflect the fact that it's in a park environment and that there are nearby residential areas, and so those will form our brief to to the architects to try and minimise any disruption. I do understand the charm of Eastney, and that it's been a place where many people from Portsmouth have learned to swim. But I think from this report and the previous reports, it's abundantly clear that we are not able to reopen Eastney swimming pool without an unsustainable amount of money being put into it, and it would continue to operate in a non-sustainable way, i.e. loss-making way.
Okay, Councillor Udy.
Oh yeah, I missed the briefing, but I just want to say thank you for your report, and it was good to see that a good number of residents actually coming back from the consultation. I remember I got a leaflet through the door and my daughter went a bit crazy thinking that the pyramids was reopening, because a picture of like a swimming pool on the front of it. I had to calm her down. I think it's a bit surreal that we're possibly thinking about building a leisure centre in 2021, because all I can think about, right, and it's probably more of a coincidence that 2 weeks ago was the 30th anniversary since the first episode of the British Empire aired, which obviously was filmed in Ringwood in a leisure centre. And I watched an event where they did, or like all the old actors, including Chris Barry, did a table read of a script of one of the episodes that day. So that's all I've been thinking about through this whole report is that thing right now, and that kind of leisure centre mentality. But I know that we're going to not have it as cheesy and corny as it was back in the day then, and I know it would be kind of... But yeah, sorry, I totally digress. So that's all I can think about, and hopefully it'll leave my brain now that I've said it out loud. But thank you, and I'm looking forward to what comes of this, and I really hope the facility is built.
Thank you, Councillor Udy.
Yeah. Thanks for the image there, Claire. And no, we won't be doing that, and we definitely won't be employing a Colin the handyman either. Just to come back on a couple of things that have been raised during the other comments. I've had very similar comments come to me that Councillor Morgan raised, and I think the irony of it is that we've actually gone out and talked to people before we've worked on anything in detail at all. And therefore, I was getting lots of comments last week from people saying, well, where are the plans? What are you doing? What's happening with this? What's happening with this? Where's that going to go? How big's this going to be? And actually, the straight answer is we don't know. We have done a costing exercise, and we know that we can build what we need to build within the envelope of money that we've got allocated. But we've been really clear that we want to work with those communities to get all the details right before we bring forward detailed proposals. So I know people were contacting planning and saying, can I see the plans for this new centre? And the point is, there are no plans for this new centre, which they would have got as a response. And it's true, there are no plans currently for this centre because we have to get that consultation right. And what we don't want to do is deliver a done deal to people to say, this is your new centre. We want to work with those communities and have it adapt and make sure that the look, the feel of it and the provision that's within it is what they want. So we've got a lot of work to do, but like Councillor Morgan, I've seen those concerns as well. And it's going to be our job to reassure those people as we move forward and make sure that they are comfortable and that we can take the community with us. I think we all know it's impossible to keep everyone happy, but we try to make as many people happy as we possibly can, and this is a fantastic positive opportunity to do that. And I really look forward to working on that, both with officers and members over the coming months, and we definitely will want your feedback throughout the process to make sure we're delivering what the community needs. So thank you very much for your comments on that item. Anything else before we move on? No, in that case, David, thank you very much for presenting today, and we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is item 4, and that will be the Parks Seafront event fees and charges for the next municipal year, and I believe there might have been some changes to this since we had the briefing.
Councillor Pitt, thank you very much, members. This will be a double-headed presentation from myself and Adrian, if that's okay. There are a few very small changes on my part from the briefing. I just wanted to, in the report under 3.7, we talked about a CPI increase for the charges on the poster sites. Unfortunately, that wasn't reflected in Appendix A. So I do just need to correct that in Appendix A, the poster site charges will be going up from £7.80 to £8 per week for the smaller number, and from £5.90 to £6 per week. So I just need to make sure those are accurately reflected in Appendix A. Other than that, the report, from my perspective, looks at the overall charges we're looking at for the seafront, for use of land, areas for use by community groups. As you will have seen, that we have those tiered approaches to pricing in order to try and support as much access and availability as possible. We also fully understand that at the moment none of this is possible because of the current circumstances, and that is something that we're keeping under review. We are keeping in contact with those organisations who have expressed an interest in using facilities and land, and we're just continuing to talk to them along with the Safety Advisory Group to ensure that current and accurate information is being shared with them. However, we do need to obviously look at the prices overall, which is what this report is doing on an annual basis. So over and above that, Adrian has specifically looked at the sports charges. So perhaps I can pass to Adrian to discuss the area, especially around the golf.
Okay, thanks, Claire. Over to you, Adrian.
Okay, thanks, Claire. Yeah, so for the parks facilities, the recommendations to increase fees and charges for the hire of parks and open spaces for events, group activities and fitness classes by CPI inflation rate. The report does make reference to permits for commercial fitness training activities that were introduced in 2016. There are elements of this permit scheme that need to be reviewed, and a separate report will be presented once sufficient benchmarking has been carried out. This may well include recommendation for amendment to the charges shown. For grass sports, the football, cricket and rugby pitch hire charges, these remain competitive with our neighbouring authorities, and the recommendations to increase these charges by CPI. The report refers to the significant impact coronavirus has had on organised grass sports with the restrictions that have applied. When necessary, we've made the necessary adjustments to pavilions in accordance with the government and national sporting body recommendations, so that when booking and use is permitted, teams are able to use them in conjunction with their own risk assessments and procedures. We can't predict what further changes may be necessary as we progress through easing of restrictions, but so far when games and bookings have been allowed, pavilion use has been limited to toilet and welfare facilities only, and this still requires the presence of a sports attendant before and after matches. Where full use of pavilion facilities is not required for a pitch booking, a 40% reduction is applied to the hire charge. If we're only able to offer a limited use of pavilions as a result of the coronavirus adjustments, then it's recommended a 20% reduction is applied to the full hire charge. Golf course operations and play availability has been significantly impacted by the COVID pandemic. There have been periods of course closure and restrictions on the number of players per tee time once permitted to reopen. However, golf has been fortunate to have been allowed to open sooner than other sports due to the nature of the golf, and that's led to increased demand on tee time availability. The lockdown that's been effective from 4th of January will now impact on the final usage figures, but at the end of December, despite the course having been closed for around 11 weeks since April, the number of rounds played was just short of the whole year for each of the last 2 years. Pay and play has seen an increase of approximately 25%, and 63 new members purchased season tickets, which supports our view that the course represents very good value in the local golf market, despite the uncertainties currently presented. Season ticket holders help support the stability of our golf operations, and it's in the Council's interest to retain their loyalty and payment commitment. The course does operate a no refunds policy on the sale of season tickets, but it's recognised availability has been disrupted throughout 2020, and this continues into 2021. So it's recommended that the consequences of the most recent restrictions are reflected in the setting of this year's charges, and that 2021 season ticket prices are held for this year, and these will apply to new season ticket applications only. For existing season ticket holders, I propose they be offered the opportunity to renew at the reduced charge that was applied as of 18th of May last year, as some recognition of the most recent disruption and to offset any feeling of financial loss from this year's and future annual commitment. This will also help support Southsea Golf Club, where membership is closely aligned to season ticket membership at the golf course. The two sets of charges are shown in Appendix A. I also propose to raise all green fees by £1, as shown in the appendix. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Okay, we're going to Councillor Jonas first. Anything, Frank?
Steve, no, not really. Just to say, totally agree with the prices that you're proposing for the golfers. I'm not a golfer myself, so I've no personal interest, but yeah, I think we should encourage those that we've got, and obviously look forward to better days in the future.
Thank you very much. I think Stephen, anything? Councillor Morgan? No. Councillor Udy, anything? No, you're all happy. Okay, then that's fine. Thank you very much, Adrian and Claire. That recommendation is accepted. And just for the record, I neglected to say the words, the recommendations are accepted on item 3. So just in case that causes any problems, I want to make that clear that I'm accepting the recommendations on the Eastney Swimming Pool and Wimbledon Park Sports Centre report. So that we don't end up back here again having to deal with a point of process. So apologies for omitting that the first time around. And as I just said, I extended a recommendation on item 4. So we move now on to item 5, which is COVID-19 local restrictions support open and additional restrictions grant funds. For those watching, maybe members of the public, these things are not very helpfully named, but we have to use their correct titles. We've got James Fitzgerald here with us to present on this today. The reason this item is here is the decision was made using special powers available to for the Chief Executive of the Council to make an urgent decision during the COVID-19 restrictions, which happened, but nevertheless the item still needs to be reported back to the next available portfolio of the relevant Cabinet member, and that is why it is here today. Over to you, James.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Pitt, for that. And yeah, as you say, this is a matter of process. This is coming to this meeting. There's no changes to the report from the briefing meeting. So this decision was taken just before December because we had to launch the 2 discretionary parts of the schemes. The other grant schemes are mandatory. So all I would say really is that there are 7 different schemes now, and as you say, Councillor Pitt, they're not named too eloquently, so that it's very obvious sort of which one is open and closed at which time, because they have open and closed in their titles as well. What we did with the report is we added a graphic as Appendix 3, so that you could see what grants were open in what restrictions period. And what's open at the moment. I think all I would say is that we're focused very much on getting money out to the businesses that need it the most. And at the moment, we've paid out 76% of the money that we've had down from government, which is good. We obviously striving to get out as much as we can. With the discretionary schemes, there is an application process, and it does have to be assessed because we are audited, understandably, on that process. But we're concentrating all resources that we can on getting that done. The latest piece of work we've been doing on it is looking at supporting taxi drivers as well. So we'll shortly be opening a slightly amended additional restrictions grant for taxi drivers only, which has got a simple process, which means that they'll be asked to provide their license number, their car registration number that they normally drive. We'll check that, and then there'll be a flat payment of £400 that goes out to taxi drivers for all of the restriction periods that they have been affected by. So that's where we are at the moment, conscious that there are a lot of grants schemes, and happy to answer any questions that I can for you.
Thanks, James. Just before I go to members, just to clarify on that, that will not exclude taxi drivers who want to go through the full additional restrictions grant process because they've got very detailed records that may be available from a bookkeeper or accountant, etc. It won't exclude them from still being able to go through that process if they want to. The intention here is to create a streamlined process that's easy to access and to make sure that we've got proper support in place to help them go through that process, which they can access via the business support line or directly via Nikki Humphreys and the licensing service to make sure that this is an easy process for people to get to. We had concerns raised for the first time on Monday last week by the trade that they found the existing process difficult to access and that they weren't really very clear about it. So that happened on the Monday. By this Monday, we had done an information gathering exercise. I also met with Councillor Udy and the head of licensing last Friday, and we talked it through there as well, and came up with the bones of a plan, which we then further worked through on Monday with the finance team. who work on these grants who have been very dedicated to making all of this work as best it possibly can throughout the whole process. And as James has just outlined, we're now finalising a plan and we'll get it out there. So we think we've responded pretty efficiently here to make sure that we're getting support out as quickly as we possibly can. Of course, it does go without saying that it should go without saying that taxi drivers as self-employed people were able to access the self-employed grants that were available from government in addition to this. So there's not been the only support that's been available in all cases, but it will be in a few of them, and we are aware of that and want to get that support out as quickly as possible. So that said, members, I'll come to you for any questions. Councillor Jonas? No, you're happy. Councillor Morgan?
Thank you, Steve. Just to say, I mean, obviously the schemes are complex and ever changing, so thank you to officers. I mean, 76% paid out is testimony to the hard work of the council, so thanks for doing that.
Thank you. Councillor Udy?
Not much comment, just I'm happy that it's slowly been sorted out and hopefully lots of people will be quite happy soon. But obviously everyone needs to be paid a better amount across this pandemic, and I'm not going to go into that because I'll just end up ranting and raving at that point, but I'm happy it's done.
Message received. Okay, so thank you very much, James. And as we've said, we'll be getting the details of the changes out within the next few days. So thanks for all your work on that. Anything else you wanted to add before we move on?
No, thank you. Thanks.
Okay, so those recommendations are noted because the decision was taken elsewhere. And now we move on to item 6, which is the updated report on volunteering in culture and regulatory services, something that I know myself and all the members are very interested in.
Thank you, Councillor Pitt. Good morning. Just to emphasise, there is one change to the report from briefing in that we've added a couple of case studies at the end of the report at members' requests, and I'll talk a little bit about those later. The purpose of the report is to highlight 3 things: the volunteering opportunities that we offer in the Directorate, the health and wellbeing benefits of volunteering, and the contribution that volunteers make to life in the city through their volunteering. We offer a broad range of volunteering opportunities across all of our services, around the city, inside and outdoors, and all sorts of different facets of how people can volunteer. And over time, we've developed a lot of expertise in supporting volunteers, such as our museum service achieving Investors in Volunteers status a few years ago. Just to give you some numbers, in 2019-20 across the Culture, Leisure and Regulatory Services Directorate, volunteers contributed more than 42,000 hours of work. That's the equivalent of 5,680 days or 25 full-time members of staff. But that's, of course, made up of hundreds of volunteers giving different amounts of time. And I think you'd agree they're quite impressive numbers. Volunteering is about much more than free labour. They help us to connect with communities, and volunteering is another form of participation. They help us to represent communities, and they're very much an integral part of what we do. In many cases, volunteers help us to do things that we would otherwise find it difficult to do, whether it's with the extra resource that they give us or the specialist skills that they bring. The health and wellbeing benefits of volunteering are very well established. We have some wonderful case studies of how volunteering has helped people with their mental and physical health and things like career development, including several that I've included in the report. There is one story that came too late to include in the report, but I thought it'd be worth repeating here. One volunteer at Hilsey Lines experienced a significant improvement in their health after volunteering and was told by their doctor, whatever you've started doing, keep on doing it. I think that's an excellent endorsement for the benefits of volunteering. It's also probably worth noting here the contribution that the Hive have made during the pandemic with supporting volunteering. In 2020, the Hive managed over 4,000 volunteers, and we've seen how they've just started supporting volunteers at the vaccination centre at St James's Hospital as well. 2020 was, of course, a particularly challenging year for supporting volunteers across our services, with many buildings and services closed for long periods. But I think one reflection that I think all staff would probably agree with me is that that's made us reflect on how much volunteers bring to our services, not just in terms of the work that they do, but also in so many other ways and the other things that they bring. I'm very happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much indeed, James. Councillor Morgan?
James, thanks for the report and appreciate you including the case studies. I think it really does bring to life the value of volunteering both for our communities, our city and individuals, and the sort of social value that it brings. So really appreciate the report and long may that work continue.
Thank you. Councillor Jonas.
Yeah, thank you, James. As previously at the briefing meeting, can't thank the volunteers of Portsmouth enough. Most of us councillors have met volunteers over our years of service, and the work they do is really, you just can't count it. It's an amazing thing. Portsmouth always rises to the thing, especially as we've seen with the Hive. Long may it continue, and if I'm ever in a position to get and thank them personally, I will. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Councillor Udy.
Also, just a massive thanks to all volunteers and big up my mother-in-law who's volunteering at the vaccination centre at the moment, who got jabbed yesterday as well. So she was very chuffed when she came in to pick up my daughter for babysitting today to tell me that she got a jab. So thank you all volunteers.
Absolutely. I had the pleasure pre-COVID of being able to attend, I think with Councillor Jonas actually, I think we were both there. We went to the lunch at the City Museum to thank the volunteers, and they were turning up down there. It was around D-Day and some of the other museum volunteers, and they've obviously got a great spirit of camaraderie between them, and we hope to be able to see that come back in its fuller form post-pandemic very soon, and we owe them a huge debt of thanks for everything that they've done, both for this service and with the Hive and others across the city during very difficult times. And we look forward to a brighter tomorrow for them as well, hopefully. So thanks very much, James, for the report, and it's duly noted. The next item we're moving to now on the, just checking actually. Yep, item 7, that's the economic access to culture and leisure. So we have the report to be presented, please.
Thank you, Councillor Pitt. The purpose of this report is twofold. Firstly, to outline the development of an economically accessible model in recent years and the importance of delivering social impact through our services. And secondly, to give an update on the subject given the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and all of the focus that is brought on health and well-being. In recent years, cultural services have developed a model of services which look to be sustainable by generating income, which are also accessible to our most vulnerable residents and communities. Most of our services are either free or low cost. We're very conscious from our work over the years that the price is often the biggest barrier to access for a lot of people, and particularly for the people for whom our services can make the most difference. We're aware from the research that we've done using Experian Mosaic to look at demographics in Portsmouth that a lot of people in Portsmouth don't have a lot of disposable cash. So that means that any free or low cost services that we offer are more accessible to more people. I've mentioned libraries and museums, I think, but also things like parks and open spaces, which are free to access, or our events programme, which is a lot more significant than most other cities of this size. We've taken a number of steps in recent years to improve access, for example, introducing free entry at museums, removing library fines, and moving Southsea Library to Palmerston Road to reach different audiences. We've also been offering the Portsmouth Leisure Card for over 20 years now, and we know from research that we've done that it offers a much wider range of discounts than other comparable leisure cards in other cities. We keep a close eye on research to make sure that we're on top of trends in society, such as the Index of Multiple Deprivation, which comes out every few years, and we've commissioned frequent cultural audience reviews, which gives a detailed picture of how people are using our services. The health and well-being benefits of engagement with culture are very well established. The Happy Museum project found, for example, that people who visited museums valued the physical and mental health benefits at worth £3,200 per year. We've also seen during the pandemic how busy our parks and open spaces have been for socially distanced exercise. At times during the first lockdown, our parks were 60% busier than the baseline the year before. And even small increases in access to services like that can deliver significant savings to other public sector budgets in terms of improved health and social outcomes for people. We know that health and well-being is going to be increasingly important as we look to recover from COVID and the restrictions that have come with it. Our services have a lot to offer in that respect, particularly after long periods of lockdown and people are being unable to get out quite so much, and people are looking to improve their health with all of the focus that COVID has brought onto health, and also inequalities in society and things like that we've seen over the last year or so. So we are thinking very much about how we can ensure that we support that as well as we can. For example, we've been looking into how we can best promote the leisure card to communities to ensure that the people who need it can get the best access to it. We're also keeping a close eye on recent policy announcements from central government and funders like the Arts Council, the National Lottery and Sport England, and they all suggest very much that they're going to be looking for projects that they fund to have a health and wellbeing legacy, and that's something we're going to be keeping a very close eye on going forwards. Very happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, James. Councillor Jonas.
Yeah, thank you, James, for the report. It's very encouraging to know that the city is operating the way it does, and that our services and facilities should not be restricted by your financial position. I think that's very commendable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Morgan.
Steve, thank you. James, appreciate the report today and the update. We spoke previously around widening participation in cultural assets in the city to reflect our city's diverse population. So look forward to seeing the recommendations of the scrutiny report in due course.
Thank you. And Councillor Udy.
Hello, thank you for your report. Just to echo what Stephen said about widening participation, so looking forward to seeing that as well. Thanks.
Thank you very much indeed. And James, thanks for presenting today, and those recommendations are noted. Thank you. Item 8 on the agenda today is the COVID-19 impact on revenue funded organisations update, and it's an information report, and I think, is that Claire Udy presenting? I've done it again, haven't I?
No problem.
Claire Looney presenting. That's your fault, Councillor Udy, for putting that idea in my head before the meeting started. Over to you, Claire Looney.
Councillor Pitt, thank you very much. And as you say, this is just an information item. What we wanted to provide you with was a snapshot of the current impacts on the major organisations that we provide revenue funding for. I appreciate that this is only as a point in time, which is probably the beginning of January at the start of this third lockdown period. But it was really to show, especially the significant impact it's been having on the broad range of performance venues and performance organisations. Each of those venues and organisations has tried to look at their circumstances and do the best they can do, but it has been particularly damaging, as we would expect, in that cultural landscape. This is really to show partly what they have been doing, where they have been open and being able to engage with customers, where they've also had the technology and the background and the staff resources in order for them to still engage online with people where appropriate. We fully understand that this is a circumstance which they are having to adapt to and continually adapt to. So it was really just an opportunity for you to see what they have been doing and where those impacts are. Also where they have been able to get access to other funding and what some of that has been, and to provide you with the background information. Thank you.
Thanks, Claire. And I noted in an email that I received a few days ago from Portsmouth Guildhall that the funds that we allocated some time back now for certain improvements over there are being spent, and they're taking the opportunity to do that work while they are closed, and that there is new carpet throughout the main auditorium of the Guildhall, which is long overdue. It was not the most salubrious of locations due to the amount of beer that has been spilt on it over the years, but it's now been replaced, and it's going to look great when we are able to get in there and use that space again. Councillor Jonas, please. No, nothing. Councillor Morgan.
Thank you, Claire, for the report. And just to say, I'll carry on doing what I can lobbying government around the VAT reduction that I know a number of venues are lobbying on at the moment, extension of the furloughing scheme and making sure we can get events up and running again. Hopefully they will listen to our venues across our city.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Udy.
I am really looking forward to going to an event. I can't handle it anymore. Not long. I had a rearranged gig from the Wedge, which was for March, so I guess that's not happening, and that'll probably get rearranged as well. I'm so close to a gig, I could almost taste it. And also, I'm really chuffed that we got a new carpet in the Guildhall because it was the worst carpet ever. So that's really great, and I'm so looking forward to going to a gig. I'll go to any gig now. Like, I don't even like the band. I'll probably just go for the sake of it. Thanks.
Yeah, I think I might draw the line at sort of grindcore or something like that. There are certain things that I've hosted as a former venue operator that I really wouldn't, even under these circumstances, take the opportunity to engage with. But I get the sentiment, and yeah, I'd have quite a broad range of things that I'd attend right now just to be able to go to something. And also, I'm massively missing being able to direct productions as well and work my own theatre company, because it's been a very long time for all of us, and it is taking its toll and having an impact. And we'll continue to work with the venues very closely and give them support. I know where the leader and I are working with Andy Grays at the Guildhall at the moment around another lobbying piece, and I know that Stephen's part of that as well. And it's just up to all of us wherever we can to keep making that case and saying, you know, it's not going to be good enough to walk away from this when things start to open up. These organisations are going to need more support moving forward because they've suffered so badly, and they're an intrinsic part of the heart of this city that we just cannot afford to allow to fail, and we won't. We'll keep supporting them. So thanks very much for the update, Claire. It is appreciated, and thank you, members, for your contributions on that. And the recommendations noted. So we are now moving on to item 9, which is the Summer Reading Challenge Information Report, and I'm assuming that's Dave Percival.
Thank you, Councillor Pitt. Good morning, all. The report is to update you all on the impact of COVID on last year's Summer Reading Challenge, which was, the theme was Silly Squad. And given the pandemic, the majority of authorities decided to pursue a digital only route, which meant that there was a surplus of paper materials all across the country. And we took the opportunity to try and attempt a universal offer where we would have roughly 16,000 packs would go to every pupil in the city. But of course, events overtook us, and not all pupils were in schools at the end of the summer term. We weren't able to go in and deliver library messages to those pupils as we normally do in person. So we had a hybrid offer of a website-based approach, so pupils could, young children could register online, and also a paper offer as well. And the results, we had just over 1,000 children completed in that mixture of paper and digital formats, which is about 44% down on the previous year. But it's still relatively encouraging, given that I think there are issues around a lot of digital fatigue by children and young people at the end of the summer term, people just wanting to actually not go online and do things. But I think this year we're more confident. We've ordered our usual number of packs of paper materials for libraries, and the website which was kind of created at the 11th hour by the reading agency who organised the challenge, they've made a lot of improvements to that, which means that some of the registration will be a bit simpler for families this year, particularly families with multiple children who found it quite hard to register everybody onto the website. And the theme this year is very appropriate. It's Wild World Heroes, so it's in partnership with the World Wildlife Fund. It's got a very engaging environmental theme, which I think will be very much approved of by children and their families. And we intend to, if we're able, visit as many schools as possible. If not, we will do videos of library staff talking about the challenge, so these can be watched in class bubbles in the schools. We have, I'm delighted to say, booked Southsea Castle for the 19th of September for our winners event. So we move cheerfully forward with the planning for that. And we have also, as colleagues will be aware, we've spent many years trying to address the participation in the Reading Challenge. We know that about 20% of all primary school pupils engage with the challenge, around 10% or maybe a bit more complete it every year. And this year I've put in an expression of interest for some of the holiday activities and food programme money that's been allocated to the authority, with an aspiration that we'll be able to target those pupils taking part and actually give a pack to each of those pupils, have library staff go out to the settings where the activities are taking place, and also put some books in those settings as well, so that families that may not use libraries will be able to access the books in those settings as well. So those are broadly our plans for this year, and we're very excited about it.
Thank you, Dave, and on my personal behalf, thank you so much to all the work that you and Lindy and the whole of the libraries team have been doing throughout the pandemic in getting resources wherever you possibly could and as imaginatively as possible out to young people across the city. It's hugely appreciated, and also to older and isolated residents as well. You've done a great job, and the partnership with the Hive in getting those books out as well has been fantastic. I've actually been responsible for picking up books from libraries and dropping them off to residents a few times myself, and you see the joy on people's faces when you turn up with a bag of books and put them on their doorstep, knock the door and step back, and they open the door and realise why you're there, and it's a real lifeline for a lot of people, and it's been amazing. So thank you for all of that, and you and the team know how very passionate I am about the Summer Reading Challenge in particular, because I know just how powerful reading can be as a tool for progress in life, and we have generational problems, intergenerational problems in this city that we are absolutely desperate to address, and the power of being able to read is an absolutely key tool to being able to get some of those children to have different outcomes than maybe their parents and grandparents did. So although we've dropped back this year, I'm really passionate that we are able to push forward and get back to where we were and reach beyond that and get as many completers as possible. So thank you. Councillor Jonas.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. And thank you, David, for the report. And all I've got to say is all the very best for the summer, and let's hope the kids have a much better time this summer than they did last year. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Frank. Councillor Morgan, please. No, nothing to add. Councillor Udy?
I think it was like a year ago. Remember, like one of the last meetings we had before COVID was a culture meeting, wasn't it? And didn't we talk about the reading challenge then? I'm sure we did. I feel like the time's gone really slowly, and in another respect, it's gone really, really quickly as well. So obviously, I said I was going to participate in that reading challenge, and we just didn't because we were just all fatigued by the time that summer came up, like having the kids at home, trying not to have a mental breakdown every day. But I'm determined. I'm expecting the kids to go back to school, and hopefully by summer there'll be some semblance of like normality going on in order for me to be ready to read. But I do have a master's thesis to write during that time as well, so I might be reading just to get away for 5 minutes of reading the other stuff. But I'll be sure for my children to participate this year, and you had me at We've Booked Southsea Castle in September, and so I'm looking forward to that event as well, because I know it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
We've got to find a way to make it happen this year. And the benefit of reading around mental health is huge. I, like all of us, desperately needed a break at Christmas, and I immediately had a pile of books that I was ready to dive into. I can thoroughly recommend the Thursday Murder Club book if you haven't all read it yet, by Richard Osman. I was given 2 copies. I also got several copies of the Portsmouth during the COVID pandemic that Kevin Dean worked on, which is a great read. And I also read J.K. Rowling's Ichabod over Christmas and found that a really good read as well, even though it's not particularly aimed at people of my age group, but that's never stopped me from reading books. So thanks very much indeed, Dave. Thanks, members, for your contributions, and you have all of our wishes for a very successful summer reading challenge this year. Thank you. So we are now moving on to item 10, and we know from the briefing session that we're in for a bit of a treat now, because Jacqueline's going to lead us through the book start update, and that will be entertaining, I'm sure. So Jacqueline, no pressure, but over to you.
Hi. So yeah, just a little bit of background about Book Start. So Book Trust, who run Book Start, are the UK's largest reading charity, and each year they reach 3.9 million children through the UK with books, resources, support to help and develop a love of reading. And they were established in 1992. So I'm the Book Start coordinator for Portsmouth, amongst other things. And here in Portsmouth, we have a great relationship with Book Start, as we know how vital, as you were saying before, books and reading are in the development of our children. So we deliver thousands of packs of free books for children each year. and we've been in partnership with them since 2001. And the amazing thing about Bookstart is that everything they provide to us in Portsmouth is free. So for instance, in 2019, we had books to the value of £110,000 that we could deliver out to our children in Portsmouth completely free. In 2020, I ordered a lot more books in during the pandemic, so the value would be a lot higher. So everything I'm about to show you is absolutely free and costs us nothing at all in Portsmouth. So the first thing that we want to get into the children's homes is the baby bag, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen before. And obviously inside there are a couple of really lovely board books. So we're trying to get books into children's homes as young as we can. And there's some little finger puppets with nursery rhymes on the back, because we just presume that everybody knows the importance of books, but not all people do, and even nursery rhymes. So these little finger puppets with twinkle twinkle little star on the back, and round the garden on the back of the other one. Also some guidance for parents, lovely colourful booklet here, and it tells them, you know, what to do with their babies at different ages. For instance, 0 to 3 months, it says your baby loves cuddling up close and listening to you sing nursery rhymes. As their eyes are still developing, they only see high contrast things about 20 to 30 centimetres away. Try sharing books with black and white pictures together. Just little bits of advice, and that's why a black and white picture board book is included in that one. And there's also gifting advice for whoever's gifting these baby bags. So lots of advice about how to show the parents these baby bags and the books inside. We're hoping they're going to bring these baby bags as book bags into the library, obviously, and that would be wonderful. Now, Dave and I thought the best way of getting these into the homes of as many babies as possible was to partner with the Portsmouth Registry Office. So Elizabeth there does the coordinating, and about 450 to 500 babies are born in Portsmouth each month, and hopefully every single one gets their books into their home to begin with, and they'll hopefully then see the importance of books. We also have a reserve in each library as well in case they slip through the nets. So sometimes, for instance, the registry office might have run out, or they might have moved in from a different area. So we've also got some in each library. So the next thing we gift, obviously free of charge, is this lovely treasure pack. And this is gifted in the academic year before the children start school, in the early years settings. And inside, as some of us saw last time, there's always a fun book. This one's called Octopants. And so the children get to read this lovely, lovely book. Always a fun book, different each year. And inside, there's some guidance again for the parents. There's always lots of guidance with Bookstart, because again, we just presume that parents know about the importance of reading. So for instance, again in this one, dear mums, dads and carers, spending 10 minutes a day reading to your child helps them develop social and emotional skills and become confident, happy learners. So it's full of tips, the booklet, for the parents. Now, I do like to visit early year settings if I can. I regularly visit the Rocket Centre if I can, obviously not last year because of the pandemic. And I always do a special story time and a little talk. And then I use them, for instance, a large format book, and then tell them I'm going to give them a gift, and then get out the little tiny book, which is the regular size, and they get so excited because then they realise when I tell them they can keep these books forever and take them home, and they can't wait to get home and share these books with their parents. So it's just about making reading exciting for the children and the parents. Now also on the treasure pack order form, because we send out, I've got a lovely volunteer that helps me send out an order form. So they fill this out, email it back, and then I prepare the orders. We've also got dual language books. This one, for instance, is in Arabic. So when the child or the parent's own language isn't English, it can be quite daunting. This way, they can have a book in their own language, and they can actually read with the child, and it's got the English on there as well, and they get very excited to know they can do this. On the order form, we've got every language from Albanian to Vietnamese, so that's a really, really lovely thing. Also on the order form, we have 3 different types of specialist packs. So we've got Book Shine for children with hearing impairment, Book Touch for children with visual impairment, and Book Star for children that have a problem with the development of fine motor skills. I've got 2 of the packs here to show you. So this one is the Book Star, so this is the motor development, have a lack of that. So you get really colourful, fun board books. The quality of these books is unbelievable, and all free to the parents, and they can have fun and games with these. Also a really good sharp book. But not only that, you get little finger puppets with these ones to help them enjoy books more. With this one, there's even the little shark finger puppet to go with the book. And again, lots of helpful information for the parents and how to use the finger puppets in reading. So lots and lots of exciting things for the parents and the children to share together. And again, all free of charge. And this pack here is Book Touch. So this is for children with visual impairment. And obviously these books are very, very tactile. So as the parent's reading the book, the child can feel exactly what the book is about. So they're amazing. So you get 2 amazing, very, very tactile books. And lots of helpful information in these as well, you know, helplines and etc. Because it's very, very stressful, obviously, if you've got a child that has visual impairment, and again, how to share these books with your child. So that's just the treasure packs alone, lots and lots. So we've got over 100 early year settings in Portsmouth, and we've delivered to about 80 of those so far. So we're hoping to get through 100% of those. So the next thing that we've got are the Time to Read packs. These are gifted to all reception children in Portsmouth, and these are through Dave Percival. He does this and delivers them all through the school library service. So our attendants deliver to all the children. He's got all the statistics. So every child, again in Portsmouth, I know you like this one. The Runaway Pea is this year's book. And again, it's nice sometimes to go into schools or have them visit the library, and we read the large format book and then give them the little one, and that makes them very, very excited. During the pandemic, the Bookstart all said that we could have some core packs. A lot of authorities said they couldn't or they wouldn't have them, but I said yes, as many as you can give us, just give them, because I also run the housebound library service, and as mentioned earlier, we partnered with Hive and delivered to anybody that lived in Portsmouth, whatever age. So if there were children in the household, we would deliver the relevant free books along with the books they already had ordered. So again, baby books, picture books for infant-aged children, and going up to junior aged children, all of these books free of charge, and provided free by Bookstart. And as I mentioned before about these lovely sticker books, sticker activity books, like this one particularly is about space. There's literally hundreds and hundreds of stickers, and it kept the children really, really occupied for hours, which was great for the parents and for the children. I mean, each of these books retails about £6.99 or £7.99 each, and everything is free, because we know that, you know, there's not a lot of money around at the moment, and we are getting these books into children's homes. They do lots and lots of other things, like every single June, but obviously not last June, we do Pyjamarama. So we have a special story session with activities. The staff might dress up in pyjamas and the children can come along, and we do different activities. They get to take rhyme sheets and song sheets and things to make home in a free book. So that's just one more thing. And a new thing that we took on with Bookstart last year was Bookstart Corner, and this is for targeted families in Portsmouth. So we had lots of meetings with health visitors and special advisory teachers, etc. and they were so excited because they get to take free books and bits and pieces into the children's homes, and they're very structured. There's so much guidance on what you do at each session, etc., all the way through. And they were able to gift each time they visited different, even sort of DVDs about how to read, and books and crayons and finger puppets and song sheets, etc. And again, another pack with another couple of lovely books in. So the practitioners were so happy about this, but obviously COVID has put a bit of a stop to that one. Each practitioner was given a special book bag with lots and lots of relevant books in that they could demonstrate to the parents how to read to their children, depending on what age. So each practitioner was given all these books with the satchel as well. So it was an amazing resource. So we are trying really hard in Portsmouth to get as many free books and resources into our children's families' homes, and that's why I get so excited about it. So as I said before, if you want any of these resources, we have loads. If you'd like to request any, and we can send them to you. Thank you for listening.
Thanks very much indeed, Jacqueline. And it's an amazing amount of work that goes on there. And I think we just suddenly realised that this was an update that hadn't come to the portfolio for years. In fact, quite a number of years. And it was a great opportunity to update the members and any of the public watching about the great work that you're doing. So thank you very much indeed. I know that Councillor Morgan has had to leave us because he had another urgent meeting to attend, which he informed us of at the beginning. So he's no longer here, but I'll go to Councillor Frank Jonas.
Thank you, Steve. And thank you, Jacqueline. The work that you do is much appreciated. And in fact, I didn't realise just how much was available for little kids. Obviously, now being a granddad, I've had the kids come through and show me them reading. Apart from that, I've got nothing to add to my previous briefing with yourself.
Thanks very much. Councillor Udy?
First of all, I think we should never screen share again, and all demonstrations have to be in person.
It's great. It's much more interesting, isn't it? Much more engaging rather than death by PowerPoint.
Exactly. I've still probably got like 3 copies of Baby Talk somewhere from having kids, and I think I got that P book as well quite recently too. I must say though, when you picked up that book, and I'm going to have to come to the library and pick it up, Kitchen Disco with a DJing banana on the front of it. That's the kind of book I want to read to my children immediately. But honestly, Bookstart is amazing, and I can't believe that we can supply so many opportunities to get people reading and stuff from children as soon as they're born and get them recognised and think, oh, honestly, I love it. So thank you, and thank you for your presentation.
Brilliant. Thanks, Councillor Udy, and thank you, Jacqueline. And we mustn't leave it years before you come back and update the portfolio again. So we'll see you soon. Thank you very much. Take care. So thank you. That takes us to item 11 on the agenda, which is a brief update on the Landing Craft Tank project, and that's over to Dr. Jane Mee.
Thank you, Councillor Pitt. This is a short paper, one change since the briefing meeting, and I've added the number of applications we got for the volunteering roles at paragraph 3.5, and we had 15 applications. So just to let everyone know that Landing Craft Tank did briefly open. We had an informal opening with Lord Mayor cutting a ribbon. We had a media launch. We invited veterans. And shortly afterwards, we also had some evening openings for a range of stakeholders, including local businesses. Obviously, we've now closed. So we had a magic moment. But obviously work still continues, so Daniel is still delivering the activity plan. We've also the 2 new posts that are currently funded by the lottery, but will eventually be funded by the income we generate. They were recruited. We re-inducted our volunteers and gave them a familiarisation visit. And I think we had a very strong response and people coming back to support us. So we're currently working with 16 to 24-year-olds to create a film to illustrate the range of careers and opportunities associated with the Landing Craft Tank project, from the project manager, the staff involved in the day-to-day operation, and also the chap who actually held the magic box that steered Landing Craft Tank down the road. I don't know if you remember, those of you who were there, the guy with the box at the front of Landing Craft Tank, very impressive. And also our greater grants for greater wellbeing. So we've been able to offer small grants to different community groups for a range of purposes, really, but just to raise awareness of Landing Craft Tank and its arrival, so that people across the city have the chance to be aware of what we've been doing. We're also going to host 6 of the government-funded Kickstart posts. We hope to recruit in March with a view to them starting work in April, and that's all about giving young people the opportunity to gain new skills. So I'm hoping that that's all, that we're able to recruit successfully and get 6 young people involved in our work. That'll be very exciting. We've produced a marketing plan. Obviously, the marketing plan it's had several versions because we had to change as things change. And very positively, we're still pursuing the joint ticket offer for Landing Craft Tank with the National Museum of the Royal Navy, as they still own the ship, and obviously it's to everyone's advantage to have Landing Craft Tank visited as often as possible. A few more practical things that you should be aware of. The lease has been agreed; it's due for signing. We're still pursuing the final fundraising for the project. It's been very difficult, obviously, with the pandemic, because obviously heritage isn't quite at the forefront of people's mind in the way that it may have been previously. And we need to produce a joint operator agreement for Landing Craft Tank going forward. And yes, we need to bring a final report summing everything up, all the financial details, so that everyone is fully appraised of what it's cost and how it's gone. Thank you, Councillor Pitt. That's me.
Thank you very much indeed, Jane. Councillor Jonas, any questions or comments?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Dr. Jane for her update, and being a bit of a nerd on this, I'll recommend everyone to go onto YouTube. There's some brilliant footage of the landing craft being landed on the beach and then taken along the seafront. And for those of us that are obeying the lockdown rules, it's the only way we're going to see it until everything's lifted. But thank you, Jane. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Jones.
Thanks, Frank. And Councillor Yudi?
Thank you for your report. I did get, I don't know whether you sent that email out inviting us to come down and have a look, but obviously I'm going to come after lockdown's done, because I've walked past it a few times now on my walks, and it's just absolutely huge and breathtaking. Also had to explain what the landing craft was to Aaron the other day, because he didn't really know, which I thought was a bit weird. So sorry for shaming my husband on that right now. But those Kickstarter posts sounds really cool, because I guess that I would say my generation is probably like the last generation that had direct descendants that were alive in World War II, that heard the stories about what happened in Portsmouth and other places, and to have younger people come in and actually be told, because they probably might have not heard those stories themselves and kind of known actually how big it was and how bad the city got it, basically, and learn about those things, and obviously about D-Day, because I didn't really learn about D-Day until I was way after school age, like the thing, like I can probably name you the beaches now, but other than that I didn't really have too much of an idea of it. But it'd be cool for younger people to learn about it, because I just don't think we would have that knowledge and information coming from stories from other people. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Claire. And I was just going to add in a thank you to Mr. Daly and his team that worked so well on the Blitz 80 online commemoration that we had last month. Because, as Claire said, it's really important that future generations learn about the impact that war had on this city. And when you actually look at the number of bombs that landed on Portsmouth at that time, it's absolutely terrifying, really, to imagine what those people went through. And to anybody out there who's moaning about not being able to go out and do all the things that they normally would during a pandemic, just think about what it was like for people back there in 1940 and what they were going through, not knowing if they were going to go home and their home was even there. I think it's a sobering thought for all of us. But you've done a great job in making sure that we've still drawn attention to that during a difficult time. And as Jane said, we look forward to being able to showcase the LCT fully and have an official opening, etc., in due course. And it's going to be another great tool for teaching future generations about what went on in those events in June 1944. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Councillor Pitt.
Okay, we're now going to move to Jane. Actually, before we do move on, you mentioned, if you're still there, have you gone, or are you still there?
I'm here.
Okay. You mentioned that we've been doing those small grants to groups. Could you? I know one of them was Red Source Theatre Company. There was a couple of others there that we've supported, weren't there?
Yes, we list it now.
I noticed Red Source because they work with young people with learning difficulties, don't they?
Yes, so Red Source was one. There's another group. I can't remember their name. They're linked to music and making music.
Right.
And then the third one, the third organisation is one that supports new mums or parents with babies. So I think so it's about purchase of nappies and similar provision for new mums, and So it's just a profile. It raises a profile and shares.
Was that the Parenting Network?
That's right. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Councillor Pitt. Yeah.
Just worth highlighting those organisations because they've really benefited from those small grants, and it's been really helpful. So thank you very much, Jane.
To come. Thank you.
Brilliant. Okay, moving on then. Final item on the agenda today is the D-Day Stories Social Media Transformation Project. So is that Felicity?
It is. Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
So, hello. Sorry, and just following on from the last one, I know the other name of the organisation was Tonic Music for Mental Health.
Tonic Music for Mental Health.
And that's because I actually just posted about that on social media last few weeks. So.
A brilliant charity. Steph Langman does a brilliant job with that group.
So I'm going to update you on the project to transform the D-Day Stories social media. So on the 2018, the museum, and I mean, having had Landing Craft Tank now arrive, it's only 2018 that we actually reopened the museum following a transformation of all the exhibitions and displays. And as part of that project, we received money from the National Lottery Heritage Fund to undertake activities to get more and a wider range of people involved with the museum. And so this project is funded by the lottery to do that, because we put a lot of effort into ensuring the displays had they appealed to new audiences, so families, visitors with disabilities. We put a lot of emphasis on making sure that the museum was disability friendly, and young people as well. And we realised that we'd done a lot of excellent work to make the museum more appealing to those audiences, but particularly in lockdown, our social media perhaps was not reflecting this new kind of brand and this new approach in the same way. And there's a few reasons for that. I think we perhaps lack some skills within the team on how to do it. I run the social media accounts alongside the other kind of demands of my role, so it's not necessarily like we've got a kind of dedicated social media person, but what we do have is incredibly knowledgeable staff and volunteers that we could be making more of their knowledge and expertise to create content, to help us run the accounts, to kind of tell some of these fantastic stories, and looking at how we tell those stories for a new generation, because even the social media that I grew up with is not the same as what young people are using now. So we've hired a social media expert called Tara Matry, and she specialises in ethical social media. So she's got quite a strong emphasis on health and well-being in social media as well, which is quite a kind of interesting approach that we're going to explore. And she's going to work with she is working with members of the team, staff and volunteers to help us put together a strategy that, as I say, is going to help tell the story of D-Day for a new kind of generation and help us reach these audiences that we want to reach. And it's going to run for 6 months until May 2021. And I think, as I said at the briefing, if you're not following us on social media, please have a look for the D-Day story on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. But that's me. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Felicity, and a really good piece of work because we've got very strong branding with D-Day Story now, and making sure we're pushing that out online is really great, and connecting with those new audiences is extremely important. Councillor Jonas?
Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Felicity. As of the briefing, I've got nothing more to add. I think you're doing a marvellous job, and anything that promotes the D-Day Museum to the younger generation, I'm all for.
Thanks, Frank. And Councillor Udy?
Just thank you, and I've got some stuff to talk about social media at the full council meeting, so instead, but I think it's amazing that we'll have dedicated social media, because I've been going on about that in other places, so it's really cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Felicity. Thanks for bringing that update to us today. And I think, members, unless anyone's got any other business, that concludes today's meeting. So thank you very much indeed to all of the officers who came along and presented, and for your continued hard work. Thank you to members for being here and engaging so positively with the meeting. It's much appreciated. And thanks to our Democratic Services officers for supporting the meeting in the first place. And that concludes today's meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Pitt. I'll just go and stop the live streaming.
Thank you, Lisa.
Steve.
Frank.
And Claire. Claire mentioned, and you mentioned the carpets at the Guildhall and how tacky they were. I believe Claire will probably be too young